A closer look at healthcare across the country. Dr. Josh Luke shares his insight on some of the large-scale ventures that big companies are making. That's coming up.
On paper, surgeon Atul Gawande seems to fit the bill as the CEO of the new health insurance company of Amazon, JP Morgan, and Berkshire Hathaway. But can this TED Talk favorite and best-selling author take care of more than 1 million employees across the country?
What's the largest employment group at Amazon? Fulfillment center workers. Many of them, most of them, people who probably are there only about a year or so. So these are people who have, very unstable health care, been in and out. And how do you solve problems for that range of people? All the way over to the other end of the spectrum, Berkshire Hathaway, which is old line companies, often union, Midwestern, Southern, it's Burlington Northern Railways with union railway workers. It is Acme Brick. It is, Dairy Queen.
And that's not including all those bank tellers at JP Morgan and Chase. Joining us with his insight, Dr. Josh Luke of the Sol Price School of Public Policy at USC and author of the book, Health Wealth. Good to see you. Welcome.
Good to be back.
Why are you surprised at this choice of Gawande to head such a large-scale venture and one that's really hyped to revolutionize healthcare?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch what happens, but it's a great question. Thanks for asking, Frank, about why I was a little bit surprised they hired a doctor, because what we're talking about is revolutionizing insurance, an insurance model, and really potentially replacing traditional insurance, whether it's a PPO or an HMO. What Amazon and Berkshire Hathaway and JP Morgan set out to do is to say, gosh, we can't afford healthcare anymore. Most American businesses can't. We joke that, yeah, gosh, I think you've heard of those three companies. If they can't afford healthcare, who can? So when they set out to look for a leader, my last thought was they would hire a hospital CEO like myself who was trained to put a head in a bed, or a doctor who was paid to put a head in a bed. But what they did is they went and they found a doctor like myself as a CEO who has been kind of an outspoken critic of the model. Dr. Gawande, in one of his best-selling books, Being Mortal, talked about as a resident how it was shocking to him that nobody was willing to tell anyone that their loved one was dying, that the end was near. And I had that same experience with my grandparent. I think a lot of us have had that experience. So Dr. Gawande, if they were going to pick a physician, was absolutely the right one. I'm really excited to see what he does.
Why do you think these three companies decided to dive into the healthcare field, really, without any experience in it?
It's an interesting question, one that kind of surprised everybody, but not when you think about, you're talking about Bezos, you're talking about three of the most brilliant leaders in the world saying, hey, healthcare is our #2 cost in our business and we can't control it. Not all that different from Walmart saying, hey, we've controlled every expense, we can't control healthcare, so they went and bought Humana. So these three companies coming together and saying, let's try something new. If anybody can do it, we can do it. It really spoke to the fact that 2018 has been the year of health wealth, really, that America declared war on healthcare costs and said, families can't afford it, businesses can't afford it. So it's really a unique partnership, but it's an exciting one.
And I think when people heard about this, and especially when it came to Amazon, they thought, wait a minute, maybe they'll revolutionize healthcare for all of us, not just their employees, but for all of us. Is that going to happen?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of folks are hopeful that that's the case. There's a story I tell when I speak. I'm a public speaker, and there's a story I tell about how a friend of mine who's a broker, his wife was hesitant to change over to one of these newer, less traditional models where you have either whether it's remote monitoring or you have tele-remote monitoring for it, so you're seeing a physician through a camera, which we see a lot in rural areas. But once she did it, she realized she could do it from her couch in the morning, not have to cancel her plans. And overnight, she said, wow, I love this new model. And there's a new emerging model that we'll probably see Dr. Gawande implement with this new venture called direct primary care. And even here in Southern California, we're seeing it with Transcend on-site care, where it's really a new hybrid model of on-site, employer-based direct primary care, meaning there's either a clinic on site or in the parking lot where you can walk in anytime. What they've done here in Southern Cal is they've combined it with pharmacy benefit management so they can manage your pharmaceuticals as well. So you're going to start to see a lot of those things work their way into Dr. Gawande's plan.
And you touched on this, Walmart in the process of buying Humana, Disney creating its own insurance company for their employees in Florida. Do you think this is a much bigger movement, and where do you see this going?
Such an exciting time. You know, I was blessed that Health Wealth, my book, came out from Forbes in January of this year. All these things have happened since then. It's crazy. We're only halfway through the year. All of these announcements have happened. Apple's now put your personal electronic medical record in your hand. They've announced they're putting clinics on campuses. We're seeing companies like Levi Strauss offer free genetic testing to their employees so they can know which medications their body metabolizes. These are all things that I wrote about in Health Wealth. And we have a not-for-profit, health-wealth.com, where you can go learn about some of these things that are going on. And anytime we learn about something that we think Dr. Gawande and this new partnership is going to implement, we throw it up on there so people are aware of what they might be able to look for.
Very cool. Let's tell people where they can find it. Once again, the book is titled Health Wealth. Dr. Josh Luke is a healthcare futurist and an adjunct faculty member at the USC Sol Price School of Public Policy. He hosts the Health Wealth podcast and radio show, as well as a daily video minute on LinkedIn that we enjoyed talking to him about the last time he was here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Luke.
guys. And I love your new hairdo.
Oh, well, thanks.